Why is Hamlet Danish? Being from England and then moving to Denmark, I find it a bit funny that the most famous Danish character ever is an English creation, in the same way that the most famous Scottish character ever is probably Shrek. But on the other hand, isn't it unusual that one of the most famous literary characters in the English language is Danish? Fortunately, I'm not the first person to ask this question. There are multiple academic texts and papers that discuss the Danish influence of Hamlet. For your convenience, I'll try to cover two of the main reasons. Firstly, the original story was Danish. The chief source we have for the Hamlet character comes from the Gesta Danorum, written by the Danish scholar Saxo Grammaticus. Saxo was one of the biggest literary, historical and cultural figures in Denmark, as he was the first person that we know of to attempt to write a full history of Denmark. As a little sidetrack, one of the most popular bookshops in Denmark is actually called Saxo. That's kind of like buying your books from a shop called Chaucer's, if we were in England. In his work, Saxo combines elements of history with myths. In his work, Saxo describes a character called Amleth. Prince Amleth is a character from Scandinavian mythology who shares a lot of traits with Hamlet. These include elements like Hamlet's uncle murdering his father, Hamlet's mother marrying his uncle, then Hamlet pretending to be mad to seek revenge on his uncle. So sorry if I've just spoiled Hamlet for you. Saxo first wrote about Amleth in the late 1100s, and in the hundreds of years afterwards, the tale was retranslated and retold all across Europe. And it's likely that William Shakespeare was exposed to an Italian or a French retelling of the story, inspiring his own Hamlet. But just because the original tale was from Denmark didn't mean that Shakespeare had to make Hamlet Danish. The second reason for Hamlet's nationality is due to politics. Shakespeare wrote Hamlet between 1599 and 1601. This is towards the end of the Elizabethan era in England, and many people, including Shakespeare, are anticipating the death of Queen Elizabeth I, whose throne will be inherited by the King of Scotland, James VI. And James's wife, Queen Anne, is from Denmark. This time, many people in England are curious and nervous about what it will be like to have a king from a new country. So in addition to Scotland, this makes Denmark a very relevant and topical location in the Elizabethan imagination, and Shakespeare likely wanted to capitalise on this interest in Denmark at the time. But it's not just that Hamlet's Danish, he lives specifically at Kronborg Castle in Helsingør. This was a very famous castle that dominated the Øresund Strait, which likely thousands of English sailors passed as they made their way to the Baltic Sea. It's an important and imposing setting that may have been familiar to English audiences of the time. There's no evidence that Shakespeare actually visited Denmark during his life, and Shakespeare's descriptions of Kronborg and Helsingør are based on his imagination and not what they looked like at the time. That's super artistic and super exciting, and a good reason to keep Hamlet in Denmark. I'm Desperately Danish. Like and subscribe to learn more things rotten in the state of Denmark.